All right, we're giving you our early 2025 fantasy resolutions for the new year. Where did we go wrong in 2024? Where can we continue to up our game? We're going to tell you that here. And Eric, I'm going to start with you, man. What is your fantasy New Year's resolution?
My resolution is kind of broad in nature, but we get to this time of the year, you're celebrating a championship or you are bemoaning a loss on live YouTube channels, and you start thinking about what you could have done differently, things that
Yeah.
you want to change about your league or about your format. We get reflective around this time of year, and then 9 months goes by, summertime vibes have came and went, and you forget all of it. So right now, take a note, open your notes app, create a new bookmark folder on Twitter or whatever you want to do, and start actually logging these things that you want to change,
Mm-hmm.
and then go do it, right? Make sure you don't forget them. If you lost your league of record because they have a pointless 300-yard passing bonus and that put your opponent
Oh,
over
no.
the
Oh,
top
no.
while you
Oh,
were
no.
streaming live,
Oh,
make
Oh
it a
no.
point
no.
to go talk to your commissioner that you want to post a league vote
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
bonuses should go away, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it might be, like, just write these things down, set a reminder in your phone,
Yeah.
whatever it might, however you need to remember it. That is absolutely the best advice that I can get, because there's little wrinkles that cost us or that made the league imbalanced, or
Mm-hmm.
strategies that you want to remember for next year, and it'll just
Yeah.
turn to dust by the time September comes around.
Yeah, and I think kind of like on that note that I'll kind of just piggyback is like you got to be really honest with yourself, like what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy when it comes to fantasy football, or it won't be that much fun. Like, for instance, I have played in probably about like 7 or 8 leagues that are redraft every single season for about I don't know 4 or 5 years at this point. That I've been playing in that many, and at least 2 or 3 for the last 15 years of my life, 20 years of my life, and like I feel like I'm at a point now where I don't need to do 7 or 8, redrafts. I think I could scale down that a little bit, but I didn't do a guillotine this year. And I was like, I would love to do a guillotine, or like, hey, I want to do some more Devy leagues. I want to do a campus to Canton league. I want to do a strictly college fantasy football league. I want to do more squad blitz leagues. You know what I mean? Like there's different things that you can do. So I think kind of finding those different niches, finding people who enjoy those types of niches, and the right people you want to play in leagues with as well will do you wonders. So just kind of wanted to piggyback on that because I think that is really important. Eric, is just like in general, let's make sure that we're taking notes of good things in fantasy, bad things in fantasy. We got little Carlos here in the chat saying, is the championship round 1 or 2 weeks for fantasy football? Traditionally, most leagues it is 1-1, but I have seen, I've played with in the past where it's a smaller league. Sometimes we'll do 2. Steve, do you like 2 or 1 round for a fantasy championship?
I don't hate the idea of 2. If you like shrunk the playoff pool and just did 2 rounds, like the top 4
Mm-hmm.
made it, and you did 2 rounds each, I'm not opposed to that, but it's usually 1, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm one of those people who now I'm thinking I'm turning around like, hey, should we end things in week 16 now? Because week 17 this year felt like a lot with like the old week 17 before there was all this fuckery going on, and extending everything. Like it just felt like a really like, dude, CeeDee Lamb out, Chuba Hubbard out. Like it was tough. It was
The
tough,
problem
man.
is that if you do that, you run into buys.
Yeah,
So, and
yeah,
that means it's
that's.
guaranteed that people are out. So,
Yeah, if there were no week 14 buys, I would strongly consider going back to 16. But
yeah.
call me weak, call me soft. I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking of. I don't know.
I mean, I'll
I
call you
mean,
those things, but it's not because of your take.
these are realities of the game, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we were talking about with
Yeah.
sure thing sleepers, right? Like, at every single week this year, you've had to overcome some adversity, fill some hole in your
yeah,
roster, right? Chuba Hubbard was my workhorse back on the team that just lost. I would have loved to have him this week, right?
yeah,
But that can happen in week 8 or in week 16 or in week 17.
yeah.
If you
To
want to
little
remove
Carlos's question, going to a 2 week fantasy championship is a good way to kind of normalize some of that
Yeah.
variance,
Mhm.
right? You're able to get a larger sample size, Zach Ertz going on a miracle run in overtime.
Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Might not have the as heavy a weight as
Yeah.
second week of scoring out there. So these are things where variance is part of the game. There's no way to completely eliminate it altogether, but you can do things to kind of dilute it a bit.
Yeah. Steve, I want to go to your fantasy resolution for 2025. What is it, my friend?
Yeah, and that going forward, I am drafting running backs on good teams and wide receivers on bad teams. This year I lost my fantasy championship in the league that matters most to me because Alvin Kamara got dinged up and sat for the rest of the year because A, the opportunity wasn't there. B, like there was no point in getting him hurt, right? But
Yeah.
down the stretch, bad teams are just going to look worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Like Kamara looked really good to start the year. But once the Saints got bad, holy shit, did they get bad. And it doesn't get better, right? Like sometimes you'll get a Giants kind of game where everyone suddenly starts scoring all over the place except for Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah.
That's rare, right? Bad teams are going to play bad. Good teams are going to play well down the stretch. And that's what I'm going to bank on. So when the bad teams are playing poorly, they're going to have to throw the ball more. The good teams are going to lean on their running backs and just get you to the end zone. I want to stick with that. Josh Jacobs, league winner. Alvin Kamara, league loser. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Going back to your point, though, of the championship, right? If you wanted to mitigate all risk of injuries being a factor, you'd play the championship in week 1. I lost Rashee Rice in like week 5, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is what it is. Unfortunate, but reality, right? Yes, if you have a guy, maybe something to think about. If you have a guy with lingering injuries like CeeDee Lamb had, and you see the season slipping away from the Cowboys like it was,
get out. Yeah.
Get out. Get out. I should have gotten out of Kamara. I saw the writing on the wall. Didn't want to believe it because he was my guy, right? He got me here. I was like riding Alvin Kamara. I was loyal.
Yeah.
Listen, be loyal in your relationships and fantasy football. Be that cheating bastard. Get rid of them. Cut them to the curb. See you later.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the reality because otherwise that's how you get herpes. So like fantasy wise. So you can't be doing that, right? You gotta cut it and run. So just be careful. I guess that would be another resolution is to not be quite as loyal to the guy who got me there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think like the wide receiver on bad teams, like we talked about Adam Thielen earlier in the episode, he was a league winner down the stretch for a pretty cruddy Carolina Panthers team. We've seen when Jacoby Myers has been healthy, he's been really good for the Raiders. Brock Bowers for the Raider has been the tight end one. Like I definitely agree. Like if you get wide receivers on bad teams, as long as the quarterback play isn't like absolute dog piss.
Even if it is though, think of it this way, right? Like Aiden O'Connell is trash. Aiden O'Connell, I say this with full confidence, I could play quarterback as well as at that level. Like, I'm not even kidding.
No, like, I actually think Aiden O'Connell is not bad.
He's pretty booty.
Compared to like Desmond Ritters and the Kenny Pickett's of the world. I think Aiden O'Connell is like a top 40 quarterback in this league. I like O'Connell. Well,
yeah, in a league full of Kenny Pickett's and Desmond Ritters, sure, he's a top 40 quarterback.
I've never seen the NFL look more attainable for normal people at the quarterback position than this season, where I was just watching these guys like Kenny Pickett, whatever the Christ was going on with that throw.
Oh, jeez.
That ended up with him like ass over tea kettle. Like
you want to know the hurtful thing? I had an anytime interception on him. I just need an interception. So I just need him to stay in the freaking game, and he probably would have thrown an interception. So screw Kenny Pickett.
I've never seen someone actually like front flip trying to throw a ball, not like a child, not a backyard football game, flag football game, Pop Warner, Pee Wee football. I've never seen it. It was crazy. I'm like, I could do that. I could do that.
Tyler in the chat, Steve, you're not better than AOC. I agree.
I'll go play. Give me the pads. We're going out there,
brother. You wanna make it. You wanna make it in the FCS, man. I can promise you that much. I'll round us out though with my advice for the new year. Something I need to stop doing is stop drafting early to mid round tight ends. Eric, you've really been a great co-host over the years because you've really preached like, let's stop with the onesie positions because you can find gold later in the season, potentially, whether that's, riding Drake May to your fantasy football championships like I did, following a guy like Steve's recommendation earlier in the season where you're picking up someone like Jonnu Smith or Zach Ertz, who we haven't really given him flowers, but he was a great start down the stretch for a large majority of the season. It's like, I need to stop drafting early to mid-round tight ends. this year I didn't have any LaPorta. Like I dodged the LaPorta bullets, but I had a boatload of Kelce. I had a ton of Kincaid, and it just didn't make a difference, man. Like the leagues I did the best on is when I grabbed like Brock Bowers in the 8th or 9th round, 10th round, like those were when I just didn't have a tight end and I was just going from, the Taysom Hills, the Pat Fryermuth to who can I roll Tucker Kraft. Had a ton of Tucker Kraft in best ball this year. Like I just need to stop overpaying for these. Like, I mean, next year with Brock Bowers, like I'm probably not going to be able to pay up for him. Like he's probably going to be an early 3rd round pick, late 2nd round. I don't like. Give me Tyler Warren in the 10th. Give me Colston Loveland in the 12th. Like I'll take all these young guys and or just I don't know. I'm just jaded on these early to mid round tight ends, Eric. It feels like every year you're crossing your fingers and you're throwing a dart, and it feels like too much draft capital to give up.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like it's not a death sentence by any means, right? Trey McBride, George Kittle, right? Like these are guys that were kind of going in that middle round.
It's like 50-50
Mark Andrews
though.
after week 4 or whatever it was, right? Like these are guys that did fine for you, right? But like they really have to hit near the top of their range of outcomes in order to justify that capital, right? So it's much more of kind of a sample size or a midpoint argument. You can get a top 10 tight end, a top 12 tight end with one of your last couple of picks, right? So use that early to mid round capital to go get a legitimate game changer, and then to speculate in the tight end market, right? Get a couple of guys that are, second, maybe even last round clicks, and hope that one of them pops off, right? You can dive into the analysis and the evaluation and trust that enough to where maybe you can get a sleeper a little bit later. But ultimately, like the position itself is kind of broken for fantasy purposes. So like you're either going to need to spend early capital and hope that a guy performs like a wide receiver, or just lean into the fact that, all but 2 or 3 of your league mates are going to get like 6 to 8 points out of their tight end position, and go try to get your edge elsewhere.
I'm saying this now. Bookmark this moment. Brock Bowers is not worth whatever round pick he's going to be next year, because he's probably going to be a back end first, early second, like early Kelce was. He's not worth it.